Hello everyone, you're welcome back to my channel. My name is Kumtatan, and today we're looking at chapter 6 of the Cambridge IGCSE ICT, the theory section. That's for exams from 2023. So previously we've looked at I think chapter 1 till 5, and this is the sixth chapter of the textbook you normally use. I know it's been a while, I've been really busy, but I'll try to keep up with the videos. So in this chapter, basically we're looking at ICT applications. How can we apply ICT? And just this picture here, I don't know most of you this generation, nobody have actually seen this, but this is just an application of ICT somehow. You just plug a wire onto two different containers and you speak. When somebody speaks here, you can hear even more than 1 meter distance, and it works perfectly well. So those were things we used to do when we were small. But now, getting into what we're supposed to actually do. So in this chapter, this is a really long chapter, but for today I'll be looking at just I think the first three objectives, and then I'll try to follow up from there. I saw that if I have to do the whole chapter before uploading a video, it might take a long time because I'm really busy. But we'll just look at the first three, then subsequently I'll do the next objectives and add on to this video. So the first thing we'll be looking at is applications of ICT in communication. How do we use ICT to communicate? This is just one thing I'm doing now. That's applying ICT to communicate with you. So this is one form of communication, which is multimedia presentation. So I'm doing a presentation right now and recording it. So that's just an application of ICT. So that's why I always say most of these things, things just around you, they are not things you don't need to think so far. That's a very nice thing about this particular subject. It's something that revolves around. So we'll look at newsletters, posters, websites, multimedia presentation, media streaming, and e-publication. So those are all applications of communication applications of ICT. So the first thing we'll look at is newsletters and posters. So basically, just try to direct you on some things you can use to design really good newsletters and posters. I mean, your Microsoft Word, some people use that, but it's just very tedious. That's the problem. You can go to websites like Canva, Adobe InDesign, Lucid Price, and all those things. So these are different applications that can help you design a really good poster. So or a newsletter. So for instance, this is like a newsletter. Normally you should have a company logo, and you're looking at information and at times pictures just to make it more attractive. So they are mostly used by companies and agencies, so individuals who give important information to target audience. So maybe they have a communique. They normally use newsletters to send that out to the staff. Oh, yeah. Now, it may contain information on recent happenings, maybe a particular area with the key players in that area for your company or whatever organization you belong to. It could be for a school, it could be for a business, or all is the like newsletter, which is used to communicate different happenings to the members. Now, some important guidelines for creating an attractive newsletter. This is the most important thing in this chapter, as I will tell you. So it's very important. You having a software and not knowing what to do with it is not really good. So the most important thing is for you to be able to decide on a good format for the newsletter. So you should know how many columns you want to use and what kind of diagrams. Something simple like this is really nice and beautiful. Now, the next thing you want to do is you need to use very clear and easy to read fonts. You shouldn't be doing a newsletter that people cannot read. So it should be something easily readable. Usually fonts greater than 11 for 11 points are usually good. Use bold headings rather than underlining. Yeah, so those are something you should look into. Do not squeeze too much information into one page. Use real and clear photos related to the topic discussed. So these are just some guidelines you can use when you're designing in any of these different softwares. Now moving on, we'll look at posters. So it's similar, you can also design posters from using word processors, Canva, Adobe InDesign, Lucid Press, and many other softwares that you might come across. So this is like a poster. Somebody, I mean, an advertisement for a gym or something, a fight, whatever it may be. And then we are creating solutions. This is also a poster, very simple and nice. Don't complicate things. That's one thing you need to know when you're trying to do designs. Um, Posters are mostly used for publicizing, promoting, or creating awareness for an event or happening. So, if probably you're organizing an event and you want people to, I mean, you want to publicize it or you want to have a larger audience, uh, you use posters probably to spread the news or spread the word. So, they can be printed out or shared electronically online. So, that is what most people do now. Go, they just send the thing across different websites. And yeah, so most people actually share their posters now electronically, so it's like a norm. And similarly, like in the previous case, the most important things in the slide at this point, how do you make a poster attractive and how do you make it stand out? Yeah, that's very important. Doing something like this is really nice and it stands out, but to think about doing something like this there's a thought process to that. So you must make it eye-catching. You should clearly state what the event is about, required admission fees if any, and then contains date, time, and location for the event. You don't want to invite people and you don't tell them where they're going to. So that's really a little off. And then you also need to provide contact details in case they need to um, contact somebody. So real and clear photos about the event is so necessary. I mean, pictures really, that always catch, and that's what most people look at first before they even get into reading. So they should really be good. Now, as I always do, you don't when you do something, cover some areas. You look at maybe possible questions. So this question from uh, exam paper that's 29, let me see, yeah, November 2019, paper 1-1. So that's question 7A and B. So you have been asked by your teacher to use a word processor to create a brochure for a new intake of pupils. The brochure will consist of images of the school taken from a digital camera, printed archive photographs, information about the school already stored in the text file, information to be typed directly into the brochure. Now they said it describe the steps which you will need to take to create the brochure. Remember, you have pictures in a digital camera you've already taken, so that you should take into consideration. Uh, and then you also have a text file where information about the school is already stored, so things are kind of easier for you. And then the next thing they want you to do is when the brochure is being created, the word processing software automatically checks the spelling of the text as it is typed in and may suggest alternative words. Explain why the suggestions may not always be appropriate. Get into that. So for the first part, describe the steps which you will need to take to create the brochure. Yeah, that's something you definitely need to. How do you go about it? Possible ways you can go about it. First of all, you need to open your word processor. Next, you upload images from the digital camera. Next thing you could do is to save your photos to a named folder probably before. Yes, so yeah, uploading the photos from the digital camera and saving them in a named folder. And then you can open the text file, which is the text file where information about the school is already stored. Import photos into the document. Crop and edit photos like to appropriate sizes. That's when you're inside a document. Position photos in appropriate areas. Wrap text appropriately. Maybe you want to wrap text around, or you want to have inline text with your your picture. So Those are things you do in the practical section. And then proofread and save. So those are different things you can do. There should be a certain order. You don't just disorganize, and there should be a certain flow to make it really look like what it should be. So possible answers for why, explain why the solution may not always be like there is normal suggesting maybe you start typing th and e pops of d pops of, probably maybe that's not even what you want to write. So what is it, why is it that at times some of the suggestions may be wrong? One possible reason would be that the default language used in checking the spelling could be different, because like, for instance, if you are using English maybe UK and another person is using English USA, there usually like this difference in spellings of words. So UK might see the word as wrong, whereas it's just, I mean, the US is actually a correct word, maybe just in the US spelling. So those are some things you need to look into. That's why it might be wrong. So you can also have non-English names of people might be highlighted as an error if you from Africa like me. Most of your name, like our names, my names, for instance, they are not English names. So if you type them most of the very often, they get highlighted, it's showing that it is, or they give you suggestions which are not the right name. Next, similar sounding words need to be checked. Yeah, where, and all those things. They sound the same, but they have different meanings. The spell checker may not understand what's badly spelled. So if you spell something badly, you might not understand it, and that's also a problem with the spell checker. And then what you're actually you might type a word that is not exist in the spell checker. That's also possible. If you have an outdated software or kind of or your dictionary is not up to date, thus you can run into issues like that. Now moving on, another communication applications or ICTs and websites. So this one is just, I mean, we use websites every day just for probably uh, World Wide Web advertisement. Yeah, you can use them for advertisement. Some people, that's why you watch stream videos and all those things. Those are all websites. So one good thing about them is, I mean, organizations and individuals can easily create an own website using existing off-the-shelf design management system. So that management system, you just need to drag and drop things, type here and there, and I mean, within an hour, few minutes, you get a website depending on how sophisticated you want it to be. Now, the next thing we need to look at is one good thing about websites is they can easily be updated within seconds to provide relevant and up-to-date information. So you can kind of compare a website and a newsletter which is printed out. So this is a very good advantage. You can update it when you want within seconds, but the printed paper you need to reprint another one. That comes it as a cost effect ineffective method. So that's the, I mean, the thinking direction you should always take. Now, some advantages of using websites could be that you can share sound, video, animation. You can be accessed by a global audience. It's easy to update a website in case of errors. Yeah, and disadvantages of websites can be hacked into, risks of viruses and farming, adequate maintenance needed, which is often costly. So these are just the advantages and disadvantages you should take note of. Now, the next thing, multimedia presentations, like what I'm doing right now. I'm doing a presentation. Um, so this is just me communicating with you using images, text, tables, and whatnot. So that's basically a multimedia term presentation. Advantages: you have use of animation, video, images to grab the attention of the audience. Yes, that's why you have images. Without an image, I'm just speaking, and most of the times it looks boring. So images to see what you're actually talking about helps, videos to see what we're talking about helps. So we also have a great way to display chronological facts using transitions. Good. So that's also an advantage. You can directly interact with your audience. So those are different ways and disadvantages. Sometimes it's expensive, like maybe like I'm doing a video now, you might have to, this recording, you might have to buy a microphone and other stuff. So that makes it a little expensive, and they maybe need for internet access. Yeah. uploading the video needs internet, and all of those things boil down to cost. And equipment can fail during presentation. That's true. You don't have good equipment to they tend not to work well. So there's issues with multimedia presentation. Another communication application is in the media streaming. So basically, this is like what you are doing now at your own end. I don't know if you've already downloaded a video, but somehow you streamed probably before actually downloading it, if at all you've done that. But the idea here is you're watching a video or online on the go, like, or listening to music on your device connected to the internet, so without downloading. So that's the idea behind streaming. So you're streaming whatever you're watching. So it prevents use of like if you have limited disk space, streaming helps a lot to for you not to use up your disk space. And one thing you need to take note of: internet speed must be fast for effective media streaming. So that's something which is of important. And during this is the general process. So when during media streaming, before you view something on your computer, phone, whatever it is, what happens is, first of all, data packets are sent from the media server. Like we saw in the previous chapter, we have data centers where they store all the information you see. They call it that's like the cloud where you stream from. So different when you request for a video or something like that. Once you click on it, that video has different data packets. As we said, the data packet is like fractions of maybe information, which later on the data packets are received. Data packets are combined together. There's like a buffer layer. Buffer layer is like an interlayer where they kind of combined. What actually happens here is combination of the packets, and then it makes sure that those packets are released in a particular uh, at a particular speed or rate, so that you don't have lagging and all those things. So everything is well organized, and part of this happens at the end of your computer. So that's basically how video streaming takes place. And it's really amazing when it comes to this electronics and all these stuff. Now, the next one application we're looking at is under communications, it's e-publications. So when you talk about e-publication, electronic doesn't mean all the e. So we'll have things like e-books, digital newspapers, digital magazines, and digital libraries. So these are just pictures of them here. This is an e-book. Someone is reading maybe on a tablet. This is a digital magazine. Another one. Another one. So these are just uh, ways of people communicating. So you're reading a book, somebody's communicating to you through that book. Uh, and with these magazines too, maybe watching pictures, you see, you can read information about people from it. Maybe the advertising, they usually advertise things on magazines. You have newsletters, all of them are e-publications. So that is a mode of communication. Next thing, mobile communication, the most common one. And I believe somehow, I mean, Android generation, this is, I mean, one of the most common. If you could forget anything, don't forget this one, mobile communication. So they are being mobile devices are being extensively used for communication between people across the globe. Previously, people used to travel miles just to deliver a message, but now, by before you close and open your eyes, somebody has already delivered a message and all those things. So that is communication using the mobile phone. So some of the use of mobile phones, and this is usually a question which is very simple, but people think usually fail it. It's actually an IGCSE question. What are some uses of mobile phones? And the problem is at times they try to confuse you. They'll be like, "What are the uses of mobile phones other than phone calls and messaging?" And bam, you see that the person is like off the balance and you cannot think again. But I mean, there are a lot of these are not even all the uses. You have SMS, texting, phone calls, video, voice over internet protocols, accessing the internet, and all those things, sending emails, all of them, video streaming. Those are all uses of mobile phone. Yeah, so just here we've transitioned from here to here, and texting with friends and all those things, video calling. Yeah, that's pretty good. This is the question I was just talking about. The smartphone has many uses. For example, making and receiving telephone calls give for other uses of our smartphone. So when they say order, you have to be careful. Don't talk about making and receiving telephone calls. You've already lost some marks. So focus on the ones they have not keep. Emails, video calling, online banking, calendar, videos like music streaming, taking photos, and all those things. So listening to music, those are all uses of mobile phones. Next major application, which is like objective two, is a modeling application. So first of all, you need to ask yourself, what is a computer model? It's important to understand what a model is. Firstly, a model is just a computer generated kind of I would say mimic, or if you don't want to use the word mimic, you can talk about a prototype. That's another word you could use, or you can look into um, yeah, mimic or prototype. I can't think of any other word, but it's just like a representation of a real system. So you are trying to represent that real system without actually making it. Before you implement the system, you want to see if you can make a prototype of it or make that system. Like before the plane was made like this, they did not just get into the industry and start producing planes. No, you need to create a model, like use a computer, maybe you design the whole plane, do some simulations to see how it works, and that is like you're mimicking the real system. And basically this is done with a lot of mathematical representations, maybe some computer skills. Now, in the process of modeling, simulation softwares are used to study the behavior of the created model to see how the system works and how you can alter the system for better functionalities. So you need to simulate something like an airplane. You need to find out what happens when it's trying to lift up, what happens when it's going through turbulence, what happens when it's rainy, and all those things. You need to simulate it against that before you actually go into fabricating or designing the different parts, making them, assembling them, and putting the plane out there. So there are a lot of things that go on, and one of them is computer modeling, which is very, very which is very, very important. Now, let's look at what are some advantages and using computer generated models. So, first advantage you can look at is it's less expensive than building the whole system. Imagine you want to build a plane, and then just to test these different scenarios, you have to build a plane from scratch to everything is assembled, and then you send it up, boom, and it explodes, probably with people inside. That's dangerous and a lot of money wasted. And then it's much faster to use a computer model than creating a race system, much safer to use a computer model than race system for studies. Good flexibility to try different scenarios in advance. Yeah, that's really good. Now, we can also look at simulation results would depend solely on the programming and data entered. Some computer models are very costly, so those are things you need to look on. Simulation results might not be positively received by people due to trust issues. Yeah, so at times, they simulate something and then they want to sell the idea to people, but some people call them doubting Thomases. They must see what you're talking about before they can actually accept that. Now, another aspect of modeling is you could create a personal financial model, maybe to track your daily expenses, or you want to go and shop. Automatically, it does the calculations for you. So this is just a simple model. You could use Excel to do that. If you own a shop, you don't need to be writing everything. And maybe you write on paper and then you have a computer backup which you can always open up at any from anywhere just to even if you own a shop, you can have something like this. If some you have a shop attendant, when he or she updates it, you can access it from anywhere. So that's the importance of this kind of models. Uh, So you can track expenditures, you can track sales and all those things with the help of ICT modeling. Now, these are other areas. Let's look at discipline. I've talked about that already. Uh, these are just some specific computer modeling areas. We have bridge and building design. This is like the longest bridge anyway as of now in the world. Is the Yangshan Grand Bridge. I think it's in China. So they did not just get up and start building this bridge. There was a lot of modeling because inside here, the sea here, the wind is different from on normal ground. So you need to model a lot of things and make sure that whatever the weather conditions or the atmospheric conditions in that area are perfect for the design you'll be using there. And this is the Khalifa. And I mean, you should really go to YouTube, and there's a documentary on how this building was built and all the things, ideas behind it. It's really fascinating. You will see that there is really a lot went into this, and definitely there were a lot of simulations before actually realizing it. A building that kind of disappears into the sky when you're looking from under. So these are just different aspects of modeling. Another area is flood water management. Wherever you're living in the more developed countries, you find things like this before the build in an area. They do like town planning, they design where the road should pass, tunneling, water pipes, electricity, and all those things. So then also maybe create a hydrology model where they'll be managing water to distribute to the whole city. So that's the also model something like they don't just go digging and building places. So it's usually modeled. And then also I mean just to make sure that things don't flood people. In this kind of place, some places experience floods because they build dams and people reside under the dam. So when the dam floats, it flows on them. But in a perfect, like in a practical situation, what should actually happen should be that people should live above and then the dam should be below, so that during flood it does not affect those people. So those are things they usually model in good situations to avoid such things. Now, another very practical modeling application is weather forecasting. This is usually a common question in IGCSE. So, weather forecasting is actually modeling. Um, so first thing what happened is weather forecasting is actually part of it is done through modeling, and once the models are well trained, the system can use that to automatically predict the weather. So what happens is there's a lot of sensors they use to maybe wind speed, rain, air quality, air pressure, and all those things over time, maybe for months or years, and that is stored in the system. And these changes in temperature, wind, and all those things depend on certain factors. So over time, those factors are tracked, and they train a system to be able to use those statistics to predict future. That's what happens. So with this training from the sensors, from the system, um, now that is why a weather station can now use those past results to predict future weather changes. Like they can tell you what the weather will be tomorrow when you have not even reached that tomorrow. But I can give you the weather in advance, maybe a month ahead, just because based on this kind of trainings. Now, very good. Another very good, nice application is traffic management. So imagine this road. They use computer, for instance, turning off and turning on traffic lights. Even when I want to build a road, they model the road first. This is like a computer model to see where traffic, how traffic flow will be going, which direction will car be moving, and all those things. So that's another application of computer modeling. Then we have the next ICT application, which is computer controlled systems. Now we have systems that are actually controlled by computers, for instance, robots. So the first thing I'm looking at is robotics in manufacturing. So this is really an interesting topic because it's a really great topic. There is no most big, these large scale manufacturing companies that make use of robots, and look at areas like space. That are places where human beings cannot go. That's where you send robots. So basically, robots are used for manufacturing areas involving heavy work, delicate and dangerous operations. You don't want to go and work in a dangerous area, such as welding bodywork of cars. That's really not something easy to do. Paint spraying, paints are usually harmful to humans, so you can deploy a robot to do that for you. Manufacturer of microchips, at some point, microchip fabrication, you see that that is what you need, high level of precision. So robots are better at doing that. And then moving items in warehouses, so you can use them for transportation. So this is just like a robotic vehicle in space. These are robots here being used for car manufacturing. So that is these are computer controlled system. The robot is computer controlled. Next, we have robots can also be manned and controlled by a worker who guides the robotic arms to carry out tasks, or the worker straps on sensors and uses them to control the robot to carry out tasks. So you can, this is someone controlling this robot maybe to do things. You find doctors using robots now to perform surgery and all those things by putting on sensors and moving their fingers in particular pattern. So these are really good advancements in technology. So they are basically robots are extensively used for production line control and carry out tasks such as filling bottles. So we have maybe where they produce drinks or water or whatever, filling of bottles with liquid, capping the bottles, all of those things that are done with the help of robots. And filling metal cans with food, sealing and applying labels. That's also done with robots. Because if you want to use humans to do that, that was actually what was used before. The production output becomes very low, and you might have contaminations along the way. However, at the end of the channel, there are always human beings to check the quality, check proper the robots are doing the right job. And then use of robots in production line leads to what? Increased productivity, faster operations, consistency in quality of products, and reduced production costs. So these are things you should take note of. Just a short video showing you some advancement, how robots are being used. Um, so these are just, different applications. I just found this online. You can definitely find many others. This Microsoft application is welding. So it's a different thing robots are capable of doing. Now, looking at the advantage wise, you see that what are the advantages? First thing, they can work 24/7. Yeah, human beings can barely survive like that. Less expensive in the long term. Initially, to set up the robot is quite expensive, which is a disadvantage. But in the long run, you find that they are less expensive, as they will increase your productivity, more consistency, and all those things. They can work in harmful environments, so that's really a good advantage for you. Then you have higher productivity, high consistency in product. They can perform boring, repetitive tasks. Yeah, this is usually a problem with human beings. It's boring. Human beings cannot work for long hours. They cannot go to harmful environment. That's why you see many companies kind of adopting robots to do job for them. But it's a new way of things. Now, what are some of the disadvantages? Obviously, people will lose their jobs. If you don't want to do the boring job, they'll get a robot to do it for you. So there's lost in skills in humans as robots do most of the tasks. So I always say, if you don't want to do the boring tasks, learn how to use a robot or learn how to develop the robot yourself. So that way you don't run out of job or you don't run out of source of livelihood. Now, their initial setup and maintenance can be high. that's true. Companies can easily be moved to different locations with robots since robots provide. Yeah. So you go to companies where almost everything is fully automated. So it's easy for the company to move out maybe from one country to another. So that's really a disadvantage to the country, to the workers there, and yeah, to the general economy of that country where they're moving out from. So an example question, we have robots being used in the oil industry to find new deposits under the earth's surface. If there are disadvantages of using robots rather than humans when searching for new oil deposits. The second part says you should give two disadvantages of using robots rather than humans. So for disadvantages, you could look at things like they can search for oil in dangerous areas. Yeah, that's a good one. Robots can detect and transmit real-time data. So you can even be having images of what is happening using the robot, but humans might not be able to provide that to you. High accuracy is detecting oil deposits, so that's also an advantage. You can equip a robot with a lot of sensors and deploy them into dangerous environment to do detection for you. And then disadvantages, unemployment to humans. Robots can only perform predefined tasks, costly to maintain and deploy robots. So are just different things you can mention. There should be many others you can possibly look into. So that is what I have for you for today, and thank you for following. Let me know in the comment section if you have any particular comment, request, or some people have found some errors. That was particularly in chapter 4, which was corrected. So let me know if you find anything you need to be changed. But thank you, and subscribe, like, and share the video, and see you in the next follow-up videos of this chapter. Bye bye.